me cry? Why'd you tell me lies? Why, when I stood by your side? I did everything right, but you played on my pride. I should black it out. No, I know so much better. You can plan a picnic, but you can't predict the weather. So I stuck back, plotting on a tip for tat, thinking of a better way to react. But I goody two shit and telling me to relax. I kept my cool for too long, you're gonna feel my wrath. You used to make me laugh, now all I do is moan. Now what they say, hell has no fury, like a woman's born. Why? You used to make me laugh, now all I do is moan. Now what they say, hell has no fury, like a woman's born. You played on my mind, insulted my intelligence.
Welcome to Time of My Lifetime, the one and only, I think, Lifetime movie podcast where we watch old Lifetime movies from the 80s and 90s and make fun of them, and we think you should too. I'm Jordan, and as always, here with Rocky.
Hey, what's up?
And Juliana.
Hello.
Hey, guys.
Oh, wait, hello, Erff. That's the catchphrase, right?
Oh, that's what, I guess
I forgot about that. It's been like 3 months since we've done this.
It has been a while. The movie tonight, the reason I chose this movie, I don't know if you guys knew this, but I think in the 9 episodes we have published on YouTube, we have combined, there's probably like a couple thousand hits, but only one comment. And the one comment was from our very first post, which was lies he told. And the one comment was someone, a stranger, saying that
actually not a stranger. Actually, our friend Trudy here in Minnesota, who
I didn't realize that.
Being very kind and trying to drive traffic, but
clearly
did not work.
Well, it was our one comment saying, I love the idea for this podcast. You guys should do A Woman Scorned, the Betty Broderick Story, which is how I found this movie. And I hadn't heard of it because I don't know. I mean.
And it is cuckoo banana crackers, but I think it was like a bit of a sensation when it came out, because it was in the era of the network primetime made-for-TV movies, and Meredith Baxter was nominated for an Emmy, according to the Wikipedia page, which well earned. Well earned.
Who was she up against?
Oh, I don't know. That's a really good question.
I actually, after I watched it, I did extensive research on it. Like, when the movie starts, it says that it's based on an article from the LA Times called Till Murder Do Us Part. I actually read the entire article after we watched the movie. Did you
really?
and it wasn't like a short, like, 500-word article. It was like a long-form, like I don't know how, it was multiple thousands of words. It took me a good 20 minutes to read the whole article.
Did you get any insights?
Well, yeah, because the thing was, so, in terms of talking about this movie, I kind of want to keep it to, like, the movie level, because if you start talking about the real story and what actually happened, I think it kind of messes things up.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too. Like, I don't want to talk about, like, the real case. I want to sort of, like, watch this, like, you sort of, like, you watch, like, the Real Housewives. Like, this is actually happening in real life, kind of, in front of you. But I'm just going to comment on the sort of produced nonsense part of it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, because, if you really get into the we can get into the
then
real story at the end.
Very sad.
I kind of just want to take the movie for the movie at face value. I'm almost upset that I read about all the real life stuff that happened behind it.
I didn't, so this is just a movie for me.
Well, what are your overall opinions then?
Well,
I was pretty bored by it.
Pretty floored?
Bored.
Bored?
Yes.
You were bored?
Yes, after a while.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
I loved it.
It was so clear. Well, like, I think I got bored in the second half. I felt like her freak out lasted too long. Although maybe they needed to make it last long for it to be believable.
It was a very long freak out.
Well, the movie's about 90 minutes long, and her freak out is about the movie's 90 minutes long, and her freak out is about 88 minutes of it. So
yeah, the best part was the beginning when I was like, what are their personalities? What is going on here? Like, is he really cheating on her, or is she just being crazy? Turns out she was just being crazy.
So this is one of the notes I wrote down about halfway, maybe not quite halfway through the movie, is I was starting to wonder if she's supposed to be a sympathetic character.
Well, because she's narrating the movie.
I know. Which also, I didn't realize did she just start doing that in the second half?
No, she was doing it at the beginning.
Was it?
No, because, like, at the beginning, she was like, oh, like, Dan and I have been married for however many years, and, back in the 70s, I was a nurse and a school teacher and whatever, just to pay the bills.
Yes,
and then the 80s came along, and now all of a sudden he's dressed in a cape and a top hat to go to the Bar Association gala.
It was the glory of the Reagan 80s. They belonged to two, not one, but two country clubs, according to her.
Yeah.
According to her narration.
Two country clubs. Who needs two fucking country clubs? How do you have time to frequent both?
I don't know. Ask the Real Housewives of Potomac, I guess.
The thing that made me wonder if she was a sympathetic...
By the way, I should watch it.
Yes, you should. It's kind of boring, but you should.
The thing that made me wonder if she was a sympathetic character or not, it just really comes from the title of the movie. The title of the movie is A Woman Scorned. Like,
I was just, in the beginning, I was just waiting for him. Like, he comes in the opening scene, and, like, he's looking at her all sexy, and he has good news, and she has good news, and they're clearly, like, still in love and are, excited about the future. And then I'm like, wow, what is he gonna do to her? I'm just like, what secret is this fucking creep, the dad from Seventh Heaven, who has always rubbed me the wrong way?
Well, an admitted child molester.
Oh my god, I thought that was what I said about him.
He admitted it.
It's true, I didn't look it up. Oh, fuck.
It's that guy?
Yes.
Oh.
What's his name? Stephen Collins? Yes.
Oh, yeah, he's a child molester.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he, went on, Barbara Walters and was crying.
What it's true, or if it was just me having a reaction to him because he's always skeeved me out since the Seventh Heaven dad days. I just felt like, I don't know.
In this movie, though, he seems like nothing. He seemed like nothing but a pretty good guy for the most part, right?
No, he was a guy, and nothing bothered him. And then towards the end, I'm like, when he just refuses to press charges or do anything towards his insane ex-wife, then I was like, maybe he's into this.
I wouldn't be surprised.
This is turning him on. Do you think that too?
For me, it was that.
He's getting off on this whole power play, completely.
Well, I have a feeling that like for instance, what you didn't see off screen is that scene where it's Christmas morning and he gives her that ring and it's bejeweled and diamonds
it's
and
says dies.
Yes, the sapphire, giant sapphire.
Yes, circular diamond.
And she's like, "It's not the one I want." And he's like, "Well, I thought you'd like it better." And she's like, "It's not the one I want. You try to control everything, even what kind of jewelry I wear. It's a piece of crap." And they just had crazy hate sex.
I don't know if they did.
I bet they did.
I
bet they totally did. Because, the next scene, they're fine. And then she, burns his clothes in the driveway. And, they're still fine.
She lights his clothes on fire. And then the next day he's on the golf course telling his friend. And his friend's like, whoa, that's a little freaky. And you can just see a twinkle in his eye, yeah, I guess it is kind of.
And that's why she got so obsessed because I just can't help thinking because she had that guy that boyfriend after they broke up who was always around and it was his dick must have been just garbage and that's why she's still obsessed.
I guess.
I mean, I'm just saying.
It's garbage. This is a sex game. This is a power play sex game between the two of them.
I feel like a lot of things must have been happening off camera, though. Because, okay, again, for me, a lot of this came down to the title of the movie and who's supposed to be sympathetic in this. Because she's not a sympathetic character at all.
No.
she's crazy from minute 4.5 into the movie.
I think like from like at the very beginning, like the first maybe like 15 minutes, it's like, oh, okay, I can see where she's coming from. You know, she's got a lot on her plate. Like they've got 4 kids. She's got this giant house to maintain. Now they're doing a renovation. They can't live in the house anymore. That's a lot. And he's just sort of like hiring new assistants and going to parties and traveling and whatnot. Okay, I can see why she's like annoyed. But then like once she starts, you know, driving her car into the house or or burning his clothes on the lawn.
Into the house.
And that shot was insane because like they had the clay pots like in front of the door and like it just like car rams into the door and then everyone's screaming and scared inside and then the pots are, you know, put back together and she goes through the door again. It was not very well made. Is all I'm gonna say about that.
Yeah. I guess I didn't her psychotic behavior starts really from like nothing. Because the thing is, you know, she very early on into the movie, she's like, there's a couple of scenes. So he hires his law firm hires like the young like hot secretary, right?
Well,
and
before that, it's like they're at the gala, and what's his name from Office Space?
Stephen Root.
Yes.
Yes.
What's his name in Office Space?
He is
My stapler.
Oh God, Milton.
Milton, yes. Milton comes in, and he's got like a hot little number on his arm, and whoever, her friend, I guess, who sticks with her for a very long time, is like, yep, they always leave you for the younger ones, and she's like, what? At this, like, this is the first time this has occurred to her, that, you know, men have midlife crises and like to leave their loyal wives for young mistresses.
And then there's a voiceover there, I think.
Yeah.
Right? She was like, Roderick. What was his first name?
Dan.
Oh, yeah. Dan would always, Dan, I had lots of pretty friends that were models. But Dan never commented that a woman was beautiful or something like that.
Yeah.
Which she apparently heard from all the way across the room. But that's
at a loud party.
At a loud party.
Thought they were at 2 completely different tables, stand-up cocktail tables at 2 opposite sides of the ballroom.
Where everyone was wearing lame, and that stuff crinkles. You can't hear over that.
Was it a St. Patrick's Day party?
It was.
I think and twirling a green-dyed carnation.
I think there was a St. Patrick's Day party in there somewhere.
Green-dyed carnation.
Yeah, I was like, who has a St. Patrick's Day party at their office? But
that's wild.
Scranton people, to bring it back to The Office, with the American version of The Office. Yeah. St. Patrick's Day is one of the biggest holidays in Scranton, Pennsylvania.
Oh,
there you go.
Well, that makes sense.
Bars open at like 7 a.m. and they take out all the tables.
Learn something every day.
We don't fuck around with St. Patrick's Day here too.
That's right. Remember you posted that video last year of a lot of
all those people dancing to that ethnic music. Day da day da day da day da day.
Oh my god.
She's pretty awful from the start though, right? Because like there's like a Cub Scout meeting at their house and Dan's leading the Cub Scout meeting, but he gets called away on a phone call for business because he has a medical degree and a law degree, and he's a high-powered like malpractice attorney, and so like he gets called away in the middle of like a Cub Scout meeting.
Is malpractice?
Yeah, that's what he was. He was a malpractice attorney.
That's an awfully fancy firm for a malpractice firm.
He was probably representing the big box retailers such as Walmart or.
What's based in San Diego?
He was the best. I don't know.
He was the best, but he was probably like getting those companies millions of dollars.
Yeah, but the thing is, so he's leading the Cub Scout meeting. He gets called away on like a phone call. And he has to take it because it's from like a client or someone that's testifying or something the next day. And so Meredith Baxter Burney has to like lead the meeting, and he's on the call all night. And when he goes up to bed, she's locked him out of the bedroom. And it's like,
and like the daughter like brings him like a pillow and like some sheets and it's like, here you go.
Yes, clearly this has happened before.
Clearly, but it's like, lady, the reason that you're able to have this house and like live this lifestyle where you belong to 2 country clubs and whatnot is because he works a lot, but why you know?
But I can understand why she was upset to a point.
Mm-hmm.
To a point, yes. You said we've got like, 12, 10-year-old boys in our house. You said you were going to deal with it. Now all of a sudden I have to deal with it. I would understand being, annoyed, but annoyed. Not like, you need to sleep in the basement.
Exactly. she flips out on him really early on into the movie, and after he hires Linda, the young hot secretary, she like.
Why are they always named Linda?
Yeah, there's a lot of movies with Linda.
There's so many
Say hello to Linda.
Hello,
Daughters, everyone. Let's doom them to a life of secretarium.
Mm-hmm.
Give them a name like Linda.
But
no offense, Lindas.
Or Mistressy.
But
Mistressdom.
When she starts at the law firm, there's a couple of scenes that are just him and her, and there's nothing sexual in the scenes between them, right? Like there's a scene where
they're obviously flirtatious, but
there's a little, but barely. There's one part where like he's on vacation and he's on the phone with Linda because she's like doing work for him while he's on vacation, and he's just like, oh, you're doing a great job, thanks a lot. It's not like, you're doing a great job, Linda, by the way, can't wait to, fuck you when I get back. Like, there's nothing going on between them that we, the viewer, can see, right?
It seems like she's just a very dedicated assistant. She helped... What are you doing?
That was so loud.
All of a sudden, the camera just all of a sudden now we're in your kitchen, in your pantry, and what are you doing?
Making a snack.
What are you making?
Oh my god, this
Garlic naan from Trader Joe's.
It's just very loud, tearing sound.
I really enjoyed the surprise. It was a twist ending.
We're taking a full tour of your home right now.
Yes, we should do that. What were we talking about? Well, now it's the beeping.
Oh man! Oh Jesus!
Girl.
I'm sorry.
Oh my god! Jules, I don't know if you're taking this recording very seriously.
Okay. Let's get back to it.
How long is your garlic naan going to take to cook?
It only takes a minute and a half.
Oh, okay. Well, that's exciting.
Once the oven is preheated, it's like...
It's a snap.
I was...
What? Keep talking about the movie.
Oh, I was saying, though, that even though he hires Linda and she's this, like, young, hot secretary, there's never a scene where there's, like, where it's implied that there's anything going on between them. And then all of a sudden, he has a lunch with her. It's his birthday, and
and his office was like decorated like a child's bedroom or something.
And Betty goes in to surprise him on his birthday, and she finds out that he's out at lunch, and she sits around and waits for him, and he never comes back.
Also, I loved how she took 2 champagne flutes with her and a bottle of champagne, like flutes in one finger bottle in the other.
And then that other secretary was like, "Oh, excuse me, are you a client?"
Yeah, they didn't know who the wife was. They didn't know who Betty was.
I was like, "Damn,
Well, she said she was new. She was like, I'm sorry, I'm new.
But still,
I guess. But so Betty goes up or gets there. He's not there, and I guess she waits around. She eventually goes home, and he gets home finally. And he gets home, and she's like, "I came to surprise you at work for your birthday, and you weren't there. Your secretary said that you were out all day with Linda. You bastard! I know what's going on." And he's like, "What are you talking about? I was in a deposition all day." And me, as the viewer,
He was lying.
I was led to believe him.
I actually was led to believe him too, because there's that scene earlier with Mrs. Foreman from that 70s show, and
Well, that's who that was. I thought she was familiar.
yeah, and she's like, all of us other secretaries are in the office are like upset because Linda all of a sudden gets her own office and she's getting paid more than us, and what the fuck? And he's like, well, she's not. And she can't even type. And he's like, well, she's a legal secretary, and so she's not supposed to type. She's supposed to, research cases or whatever the fuck. And I was like, oh, well, okay. And I just felt like all of, that scene, maybe I'm just being moronic and naive and male, but, I felt like he was, sort of being like, oh, no, this is not what it looks like.
I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure if he was cheating on her.
He seemed very genuine.
But, I wasn't sure if he was cheating on her after the birthday thing. I wasn't sure if he was lying. And then when the secretary came up to him and accused him of, playing favorites with this new lady, with Linda, I believed the secretaries that he was playing favorites, and he didn't even realize it, and that was him trying to justify
You're right.
giving her a promotion.
You're right. That's exactly what happened.
While that's all true, in the context of the movie, we were never led to believe as the viewer that anything inappropriate sexually was going on between Dan and Linda.
But didn't he admit that something sexually was going on later in the movie, or was that something I just read on Wikipedia?
No, in the movie, no. Never.
In Wikipedia, in real life, he did. He admitted to her that they had been.
Because in the context
I'm sorry.
in the context of the movie, he doesn't start having a relationship with Linda until after he leaves Betty.
Well,
and
he
should
did.
leave Betty because he gets, after the birthday thing, he goes, we haven't even discussed this, he goes home, and Betty's like, I know you're cheating on me with your slut secretary, Linda. And she's like, and then she has my favorite line of the movie. She goes, liar, liar, pants on fire. And she's thrown all of his clothes into the yard and sets them all on, literally sets them all on fire.
And that's why I think it's like they had hate sex, because literally it's like jump cut to the next day, and he's golfing with his brother, and he's all like, oh my god, she's crazy. And he's all like, no, she's just, spirited.
What he says is, because I wrote this down, because he says it a couple times in the movie to some degree, he's like, that's just Linda.
Betty.
Or, excuse me, that's just Betty. Excuse me. That's just Betty. She set your clothes on fire. That's just Betty. She drove her car into your house. That's just Betty.
Well, that was after he left her. So cut to finally, they fight on the ski trip. They fight on Christmas. They fight at the party. They fight all over the place, and he finally sits her down in a fancy San Diego restaurant for lunch, and he says, Betty, this is not working out. I am moving out. We are going to sell the house. I'm going to buy myself a house. I'm going to buy you a house. And then we're just going to part ways. And then that's when she goes full-on cuckoo banana crackers.
She does. She goes full. Yeah. I mean, it starts. I don't even know what it starts with. I mean, because there's.
She starts dropping off the kids at his house in the middle of the night when he's not there.
Yeah.
Middle of the night.
Yeah, he gets home and his 7-year-old boy is sitting on his doorstep, just sitting there. He's like, "What are you doing here?" And this kid's like, "Mom dropped me off," and he's like, "What?"
But I wasn't even supposed to be home from my trip tonight. I came home early, and like the 7-year-old's just like,
Yeah, so she drops her kids off at his house one by one, all 4 of them, one at a time, just leaves them at his doorstep. And like, she's talking to her friends, and she's just like, let him see what it's like to have to be a parent. And it's like, this is why this movie was confusing for me based on the title, because it's like, when were you scorned?
But what was funny was that like she was like, let him see what it's like to be a parent, and then he's totally fine and kind of awesome at it. And the kids are happy and fed and going to school and clothed and clean, and then she comes over and she's like, let me see what he's doing to my kids. And like she walks,
and they're like, he doesn't even have chips. And I was like, yeah, because he's not feeding them junk food. And she's like, oh, I've got some in the car. Go get him. Go get the chips.
And then
I'm like, he doesn't feed the kids junk. That's what I took it. I'm like, he's feeding them all organic fruits and veggies.
Exactly. Speaking of organic fruits and veggies, it's your garlic naan.
Yeah, it looks pretty good.
It's really good.
It does look tasty. Your oven preheats really fast.
No, it was 20 minutes.
Oh, so you started the process before we... That was enterprising.
I've been planning this for a long time.
Your snark-fest. And then, I don't know what happens, but, like, the kids are out of the house, and he's out of the house, and she just comes in, and she starts breaking all the china, spray painting the
walls. I mean, she vandalizes his house on multiple occasions.
Destroys everything. And she does this on a number of occasions. She comes in and she fucks up the house, and he gets a restraining order, but what I don't understand is they never lock the door.
Yeah, I didn't get that either.
At all. So she just has free reign of their house.
Yeah, it seems like despite the fact that she has vandalized property, like,
he has a restraining order against her.
Is more and more erratic. Like, everyone is just like, wow, she's a little, difficult ex. Woo, sorry, man. And it's like, she's... Like, no one takes her threats seriously.
Yeah.
And she just, like, stays on that answering machine.
You should change the locks after 2 years of fucking crazy harassment. Yeah, I'll get around to change. Like, no one was concerned. I'm like, you guys, like, I don't understand why they're trying to just brush off her increasingly scary behavior.
And that's just it. This whole time, he's in this movie. He is more than gracious and understanding towards her behavior.
And she just like stays on his answering machine, like, "Hey Dan, it's me." And she's like standing on a cliff in a kimono, drinking a bottle of white wine.
It's amazing.
Like, she's like, "Hey Dan, are you having sex with that little pile of dog shit on the stairs?" Like, oh my god. And then like the youngest boy like answers the phone at one point. He's like, "Mom, you have to stop doing this." He's like, did they get to you? Did they get to you? You tell your mommy if they got to you. And she's just getting crazier and crazier and crazier.
Yeah, it's...
Oh my god, it's kind of scary.
Yeah, no, she is nothing but terrifying. And I think I had 2 favorite parts right around this time. One is when after they get into some fight, she goes over to the house, and that's when she drives her, like, what is she driving? She's driving a van or
like a van.
A huge Chevrolet, like, van truck.
Yeah, so she plows her car into his house.
And it's the original Suburban.
And maybe that's what it is. She plows her car into his house, which with the vanity tags, load them up, by the way. Plows her car into his house a number of times. Meanwhile, inside the house, his kids are like, "Dad, it's Mom." He's like, "No shit, it's Mom. Who else would be doing this?"
Hold
and
on
then
one second.
he goes outside to confront her, and they get into a big fight wherein he punches her like in the stomach, and tackles her to the ground. Which, in fairness, in the context of this movie, I had no problems with that.
It was justified.
No, 100%. She just drove a van into the front of the house.
The title is ironic. crazy, okay? We sympathize with him. She wasn't scorned. She scorned herself. End of the movie. Which is why I was, like, a little bit bored by it, because eventually I got it, and I was like, okay. But I still watch her be crazy for like another 20 minutes.
Well, here's the thing, and here's why I'm like, is it an ironic title? Because in the true life, I don't want to get into it too much, but in the true life, people did see her apparently in 1990. She was seen as like a sympathetic person.
Yes, because apparently in the trial, she's like one of the first people to argue battered women syndrome, and she claims that Dan and Linda like mentally abused her and harassed her for years.
But in the
apparently this movie was,
Well, whoever made this movie was clearly biased in favor of Dan Roderick because it painted him as a saint.
Yes.
Or
it was
as an erratic, crazy person who would not leave them alone.
It was made by all of the people, like the San Diego law community, that shut her out, that she's complaining about over and over again.
You guys should read the article that the movie was based on, because the article seemed to be relatively unbiased, and the movie was pretty true to the article that was written about it, wherein basically all the things that she claimed in court were more or less discredited. Like, the whole thing's, that's the whole idea of A Woman Scorned is just like, if you watch the movie and you're trying to be on her, it's impossible to be on her side in the context of the movie. Impossible.
Sorry,
anyway.
Archie's being naughty. Hold on.
So I guess eventually, after all this like crazy shit happens, and all the vandalism and her driving the car in and whatnot, him and Linda finally get married, which is like the final straw for her.
I just love that scene where she's like sitting at her dining room table in like her like hoarder's house, and she's just like going down the list, like calling people, I guess mutual friends, and being like, "Hi, Barb. Hey, it's Betty. So, are you really going to Dan and Linda's wedding? I mean, come on. Don't you think that's just an affront? That's just Oh, really? Okay. Well, goodbye. Hello, Carol. Hi, it's Betty. Are you really going to...
Great scene. That is Emmy-worthy.
Yes.
I mean, come on.
I mean, and...
calling people angry that they're sided with your ex. But then when her friend did call, that when the couple they vacationed in Paris with called, or I think Betty was like, "Happy birthday, you old bitch." You know, it's like, "It's your birthday, I'm picking you up, let's go out." And she was like, "I'm sorry, but we've begun socializing with Dan and Linda, and it just wouldn't be appropriate to see you or talk to you ever again. Goodbye, I'm sorry." It's just like, and her friends just totally ditched her.
Wouldn't you?
I didn't be sympathetic. It was because she's a psycho and no one wants to hang out with her, and she makes people uncomfortable. Even her new boyfriend, when she got up to take some call
from the lawyer,
how he mouthed to his friend, "She never stops."
She never. I think he's like, "It never stops" or whatever. Yeah, it's
you
great.
saw him do that, right?
I
thought
did.
that was really nice.
Also,
but I'm just like what is his deal?
Thank you. Can we talk about this guy? Like, this guy can't find anyone better than Betty Broderick to spend his time with. Like,
I think he is low on cash
Hey.
and has a really high libido and a low IQ. And
high
has
libido?
shacked up with her.
You think it's a high libido?
I thought he was a eunuch.
Yeah,
I think
my whole thing.
She is taking her insanity out on him.
And that's why he stays.
Yes.
Oh.
That's why he puts up with it. That's why he stays. They don't have to talk. She just goes, like, freaks out, and then comes back and, like, hate fucks him.
Yeah. Like, fucks him through a wall, and then,
yeah. He is just like, "I cannot believe I hit the jackpot." And we don't even have to we don't even have to hang out. We're just, like, fucking like crazy. I think that's what's happening.
That makes sense, because I was just like, my theory was just, like, his dick must just be, like, complete and total utter garbage. If, like, he can't, like, you know, like, if she's still obsessed with her ex-husband. But no, that makes sense.
That does make sense. Besides which, he's riding the gravy train because we find out that Dan is paying her, and this is in 1980s money. Dan is paying her $16,000 a month.
And she's not even taking care of the children. He is.
Yeah.
Yes. She's not paying him child support.
So Brad, her boyfriend, that makes sense. He's
fucking freeloading. He's like Kato Kalin or something.
That's true.
And that was a beautiful house that he bought her.
Eating her food. Maybe he cooks. He likes to.
No, she cooks. She specifically mentions that she's a world-class chef. Basically, he's not doing shit except getting laid and making bank, right?
And staying in that beautiful house. That really was a beautiful house that he bought her.
You know what? I was having a hard time figuring out who my favorite.
What?
She bought that with his money to try to win him back. Because she said,
you're right.
Dan loves a show, or Dan loves status.
I forgot about that. You're right.
That their divorce was a sex game, because I'm like, oh, she knows, like, I don't know.
Speaking of buying a house, I do love the part where he's trying to sell their old home, and him and the realtor, like, he gets an offer on it for, he says 3.25, which is in the context of at first it was like 3.25 million. It was $325,000, and then Betty shows up and she's like, I'm not gonna take anything less than $1 million. I'm like, going from 325 to $1 million. Good luck with that, Betty.
Well, that was the point.
I know that was her way of I mean, she was obviously being unreasonable with it, but it was just kind of, I don't know. It made me think of the Tiffany Amber Thiessen movie that we watched with the realtor and like.
Well, that actually brings me to my favorite character. Yeah. Because it was the realtor in that scene, because she comes up and the realtor's being like all like nicey nice, like, oh, hey, Betty, we just got a great offer on the house. Isn't that such good news? And she's like, oh, Dan, is this your new chippy? And the realtor's just like, excuse me? And like Dan's like, no. And I was like, oh, I like that attitude that she gave.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, who else is going to be your favorite character in this movie? Is it going to be Betty or Dan or one of those sad children?
I didn't really have one until we started talking about Brad, Betty's boyfriend. Now I think it's him, actually.
Well, he did well for himself, I have to say.
So, just to conclude the movie, after all this nonsense goes down, Dan and Linda get married. And that's the final straw for Betty. She's already purchased a gun, and she goes to their house in the middle of the night, and she goes into their bedroom, and she shoots both of them.
Out of him.
And I think the first shot or the second shot kills Linda immediately, but Dan is alive, and he reaches for the phone to like call for help, and she grabs the phone and she yanks it out of the wall and walks away, and then calls to like confess. I don't know who she calls, but calls and confesses that she did it. And then it ends with like her in prison being like, I don't even remember what she says. She's just like, yeah, I didn't do anything wrong. He deserved it, or some nonsense.
Yeah, whatever she says. Sorry about that.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just the whole thing.
You didn't like it?
No, I didn't like it.
Huh. I thought it was pretty entertaining.
I thought it was entertaining.
Yeah, I liked it. Overall, I enjoyed the movie.
That's good. I'm glad.
Did you have a favorite character, Jules?
No, I don't.
Oh, man, big loser movie for you. By the way,
thumbs down.
I was hoping everyone was going to like it because somehow, for some reason, there's a part 2.
There's a part 2?
Yeah, there's another hour and a half long movie on YouTube. I forget what it's called, but it's a part 2 to this movie.
How is there a part 2?
I don't know. I don't know if it's about like her in prison and like her appeals or whatnot, but there's absolutely a part 2 to this movie.
I would say Betty's revenge, but she gets her revenge at the end of part 1.
I think it might be called Betty's Revenge. I'm gonna look it up right now, but there's absolutely a part 2 to this, which
all right.
I find weird. I was actually gonna maybe suggest it for our next movie, but if Jules didn't like the first one, I guess we shouldn't watch the second.
Well, it might be a completely different animal.
Yeah,
progression.
It's called the part 2 is called Betty Broderick her final fury.
Oh.
What is she gonna do now?
I don't know.
Is she like
from the dead and then kill them again?
Is she like Freddy Krueger? Is she gonna get into like people's dreams?
Well, you know what? It's from 2015. Meredith Baxter Burney apparently is reprising her role. It looks like it's about probably her appeal, because in 2010 she was, and this is in real life. In 2010 she was up for parole, which got denied because apparently in court she goes into court and or her parole board or whatever, and showed absolutely no remorse. Like to this day, she feels like she was justified in killing them.
And according to this, she was denied parole again in November 2011.
Wow, there you go. So I guess this movie that came out in 2014 or 2015 must be all about that. I'm glad to see Meredith Baxter Burney still working.
Good for her.
Good for her.
Well, I feel like she earned that Emmy nomination.
She's a proud and out lesbian now.
Yes, she is. Good for her.
Makes me cooler. I know. Good for her. Yay, Meredith.
Yay, Meredith.
I probably, in fairness, I probably would have cheated on her with Linda too in the context of this movie. She just.
Did you think that Linda was a beautiful woman?
No, I did not. But I thought Meredith Baxter Burney was not attractive.
She was hard to love. She was hard to love her.
I'm just saying.
Not because of her looks, just
no,
her
attitude.
Everything
she
else.
was a stank. She had a stank attitude all the time.
Yeah,
about
she
everything.
definitely.
But she did get into that, like, she got the really short hair and, like, the Barbara Bush suits. And it was kind of like, this is not sexy. Like, this isn't a sexy look. Not that she has to be. But it just was not, like, it was just a very matronly look for women. And I think they were only, like, 40.
Not even.
Well, it was, like, in the 80s with, like, the shoulder pads and, like, the sneakers and the stockings and whatnot. That whole situation.
Yeah. She looked rough.
Yeah. She looked okay in that gold lame dress that they wore to the gala at the very beginning.
Oh, when he's wearing his cape and top hat?
Yes. Which he reprises later in the movie with Linda.
Mm-hmm. But, hey...
Linda just slides in. It does really feel like Linda just slides in and takes her place, though, and that must have been really hard.
I bet.
Oh my god, that one scene, like, when after Linda moves in and she, like, has the kids and they're, like, sitting on a park bench by the cliffs, by the sea, and she's like, well, you know, now that he has Linda, they're gonna have kids, and he's just not gonna love you anymore.
He's gonna forget you. He might even disown you. She said he might even disown you. Pretend like he's never met you. And the 6-year-old is like crying, like, what do you, Dad's gonna pretend he doesn't know? Such a harsh, fucked up thing to say.
As a divorced child, like...
where her children are now, and where their mental state is now.
As a divorced child with step-parents, like, that was my nightmare.
The thing is, the immediate next scene after that, there's that scene with them with her at the park bench, and the immediate next scene is them with Dan, like, in a park also, and they're basically like, can we never go back to Mom's house?
And he's like, sure.
Because they're all terrified of her, and she's terrible. I feel like this movie needs a different title. It should be called, like, Betty Broderick, like, Psycho Hose Beast, right? Like, not a woman scorned. You're not being scorned.
I feel like I haven't heard the word hose beast in, like, 15 years.
That's a direct quote from Wayne's World, Rocky.
I've never seen that movie.
You've never seen Wayne's World?
I'm sorry.
Well, I guess we've already sort of done favorite characters. Is there anything else that we want to touch on?
Well, life lessons. Did anyone learn any life lessons from the movie?
Yeah, I feel like we can wrap it up.
Okay.
Sorry, what, Rocky?
No, I was just saying, did anyone learn any life lessons from the movie?
No, I didn't. It was very unrelatable for me.
I learned that garlic naan is the most delicious of the naans.
Did you learn anything from the movie?
No. Not anything that I didn't already know. Don't be a psychotic person.
My feeling is, I feel like some of these warning signs from her would have come out prior to them getting married.
Probably, right? I guess. But he was probably too busy, like, to notice, like, getting a medical degree and a law degree.
I guess.
While she was over there raising the children.
Yeah.
Yeah, she probably hadn't slept in like 10 years, and I think that is going to screw with anyone's mind.
That is absolutely 100% true.
So I think why all moms are a little crazy.
Mm-hmm.
They've lost a lot of sleep time, which has affected their brains.
That's true. She's still not a sympathetic character.
No.
You know what? Whether you guys want to or not, I'm watching the sequel. I'm going to do it this week. Betty Broderick, Her Final Justice, or whatever it was called.
Well, Jules, you can participate if you like, but I'll watch with you, Jordan. We can talk about it.
All right, sounds good. We already did favorite characters, lessons learned, none. I think that's about it for A Woman Scorned, the Betty Broderick Story.
I think that's all our segments.
I recommend it.
Bye, Betty.
I thought it was entertaining.
I would recommend it. I thought it was entertaining. If, not, casually misogynist in the way all Lifetime movies are.
Right, you seem to expect that.
Right.
All right. And on that note...
that hilarious note. I just made you think about stuff, audience.
Thanks, everyone, for listening to this episode of Time of My Lifetime. Follow us on Twitter or whatever other things we don't actually do.
Well, Twitter @Lifetime and timeofmylifetime.tumblr.com. I'm glad you mentioned that because I was going to forget.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
Until next time, I guess next time we might be doing the sequel of Betty Broderick.
The Squeak Wall.
The Squeak Wall. All right. Bye, America.
Bye, Erff.
Bye, Erff.
You played on my mind, insulted my intelligence.